I've laid out all the components here for the crosscut saw filing bench. This is, as far as I know, a uniquely American design. This is on the smaller side of what they would have been back in the great logging camps of the Pacific Northwest back in the day. These were traditionally made out of huge timbers. Some of those saws that they used were so big that manufacturers actually didn't produce them. So they would take two long ones, like two 16s, and braze them together, 32 feet long with one man on each end for the giant sequoias and the old growth Doug firs and hemlocks out in the Pacific Northwest. Really amazing photos if you ever get a chance to see them. This particular one I built a few years ago out of Douglas fir that I milled completely with my Alaskan chainsaw mill, and used there's a lot of personal touches in it, as well as the tightening cranks on the handle were all from my granddad's things. I milled everything from trees on our own land, so it's got a lot of sentimental value to me. So let's put it together really quick, and I'll show you kind of how it works and why I think it's an important skill to preserve, even in these modern times. Finding guys that can file crosscut saws properly is nigh impossible. There's only a handful in the whole world because the knowledge has been lost by and large. One of the only schools that still remain that teaches the proper techniques is run by the U.S. Forest Service in Montana, and I was very fortunate to be able to attend that years ago. They only have about I think they run 1 to 2 classes a year, and there's only about 5 students allowed in, and usually they're agency people. Now, why does the Forest Service continue to run this school? Well, in our wilderness areas, for those of you in Europe that may not know this, we have wilderness areas, forests, where no power equipment is allowed. All of the trail crews, maintenance crew, they have to use the traditional tools. It is it's basically a nature preserve, giant nature preserves. And the crosscut saws are still used in the clearing of forests, and as well as firefighting. So they maintain these saws. Now there's a finite amount of them still left. They're not produced anymore. They're still produced, but they're an inferior level. They can't be replicated, and the ones that they have, they catalog and they take very, very good care of them. And it's a national treasure, as I've said in the past. So we'll get into it. We'll do a series of sharpening once we get set up and moved. But it's a fascinating topic. These holes here in the upright are for just some rods that I put in to adjust the height, depending on the saw, if you're working on a big one or a small one. And they're filled up by those little mason bees, those little cute little bees. They're tiny little bees. And anything that you have, any sort of little hole drilled in anything, they come and they build their little nests in it. And I was looking on my tripod, my camera mount that the camera's sitting on right now. There's a little threaded hole that doesn't have just a threaded hole, and they built a little nest in that. Looks like those little guys got to both sides. I designed this filing bench to be able to be assembled with no tools. I wanted to be able to break it down. I thought it might be kind of fun to go to some local fairs and different things and set up and maybe do some demonstrations and just show folks, or just to have the ability to transport it because it's so big. These wedges are just made from a hickory. The next piece we mount will be the tool tray, and all your tools are kept right here handy so you can stay working behind the bench. It's got some 5/16 bolts, if I remember how this goes. This is a piece of rough cut Doug fir that's just notched. If memory serves, it goes in here just like this. That is the tool tray installed. Now these are a couple pins that I made from a Oh no, I found these in my granddad's things. I don't know what he made these for. When I was building this filing bench years ago, I was going through his chest of drawers, all the hardware, and I found these. And they were just little pieces of all thread that he's brazed a washer on with brass. He was all about that. He was always sticking stuff together with his torch with brass and fixing things that way. And I have no idea what he made them for. Some specialty tool for something, but they make great stops for the vise top. These just slide in here, go across. The rings make it nice. You can grab hold of them. We'll just set it somewhere in the mid-range, number 3 hole. Now for the best part, the vise head. I can't think of anything I'm looking forward to more than on the next cold, snowy, stormy day, just coming out and filing the old saws. I've been wanting to do that for a long time. That's actually a little bit low. I'm going to bring that up one more notch. The reason for this design is that the vise head needs to be able to rotate to change the orientation, because lighting is critical when you're filing these saws, because you need to see the glint or the reflection off of the teeth when you're pointing up the teeth. That's why in the old filing, they filed these before electricity. In the old filing sheds on the logging sites, they had actually skylights. You have to have a light in a specific area over your shoulder, overhead, and then one to the front to get that correct refraction. So you're always altering and changing this, and then you can adjust these. These are the file handles I made out of Granddad's old files there with these nice old square nuts that I found. Now here's the working side where the filer would work. You'll see a series of hardwood wedges in here. This needs to be able to fit a variety of different saws and heights and thicknesses, and the more they're used, the thinner they get, so you need a lot of adjustability. You'll also see in here different holes placed where you can set down where the base of the file will sit on there, for different sizes right there. This is filing these old saws, these vintage saws, takes tremendous attention to detail and skill, and one wrong move can break a tooth, and they're absolutely irreplaceable. Back in the day, a saw filer, to file maybe an 8-foot saw or so at a logging camp, was given about an hour. That's what he was expected to be able to do it. Me, at my best, when I was just fresh out of school, 8 to 10 hours to file one saw, and that didn't include any of the restoration or rust removal. That was just joining it, setting the teeth, pointing up the teeth, dealing with the rakers. It's very, very complex and thing to do if you don't do it all the time. But right there you can kind of see how the saw is held, and that's how you work on it right here. And you're always adjusting with the arms and moving, dealing with that light refraction, whatever you might need to be doing. One thing you might have noticed on the bottom, you'll see that there's a heavy anvil right here, which is nothing more than just a piece of 1-inch steel. I like to say that I did that on purpose for a reason, which I have used it sometimes if you need to take a little dent or have a little bit of heavy backing, to straighten something out, you can use it. It's not ideal, but why I had to put that on there was I didn't get the balance right on the vise head. And what I was finding with some of the larger saws, that if I wasn't paying attention, it would break over past center and flip upside down because it didn't have enough weight on the bottom because the balance was off, and run the risk of dumping the saw on the ground. So I added that heavy steel, which was kind of a half measure, but it seems to work. Here in the tool tray are a few of the filer's tools. These tools are some of the rarest and most sought after difficult tools to get because they're just no longer produced, especially this. One of the holy grail of saw filers, of course, is the long Gibbs jointer, and I was never able to find one of those. And fortunately, a man that was a master machinist and actually a former aerospace machinist took tasked himself with recreating these with modern materials, and he only made a few, and I got my hands on one thanks to one of my subscribers right there. But that long joiner right there is, oh, I couldn't replace it. We've got some short joiners, which will do the job, but you know, they can't be compared with a long joiner. Various feeler gauges, dental mirrors for when you're pointing at the teeth to see behind, magnifying glasses, because usually old guys are filing saws. When you could no longer pull a misery whip out in the forest, you went in and filed saws, and Simmons depth or thickness gauges. These were used back in the day. I saw them in an old picture. Guys would cut off the end of a glove. You see there, get some light there. When you're protecting your fingers, when you're filing, we got our spiders there for our set. I got a full set of spiders. And some very specific hammers. This is one of the hardest things to come by next to the long joiner are the original Simmons hammers for setting teeth. This is a poor reproduction, but I've never been able to find an authentic one like this. So usually you have a large and a small, and this is the smaller one I got from my neighbor Henry, who was a logger from way back in the day and happened to have that in his things. I just found it by chance. Well, that's about all the time we have for today. I just wanted to kind of give you guys a basic overview and share this with you. It's something that I find so interesting. I think these old skills and traditions are important. I think they need to be preserved the best we can. I am not the end-all be-all of this. I'm actually just a layman. I just have just a general knowledge and very little skill. There's guys out there that I'm not even in the same, shouldn't even be in the same sentence, but maybe someday. I've always thought that what I would do when I'm old and decrepit, and I might just sit out in my shop and spend the winter filing saws for the Forest Service. I could think of worse things to do, right? Well, I appreciate you watching. If you guys wouldn't mind sharing these videos and commenting, even if you just come in to say hi, and hitting the like button. YouTube is actively shadow banning us and demonetizing videos. I don't think they like the Christian quotes and the Christian content at the end, but I don't care. Whether I should listen to them or to God, judgest thou thee, huh? That's it. Thanks for watching. May God bless you and your families. We'll see you guys on the next video, and keep us in your prayers.